today's video, I am eating just a regular sandwich, and I'll also be having a slight review on some Chex Mix that I started to try the first time. It's like the turtle kind, and I will be telling the story on top of that, and another true story. I'm gonna pray over my food. Lord, please bless this before I eat it. In the name of Jesus Christ and Mount Zion, as I pray in my heart. And God bless many others out there to have something to eat too, Lord. As I pour up ETH and do DGE. M-E-N-E-T-H, M-E-N-E-T-H. I also got some water. And these, it's my first time trying it, and the smell inside the bag, it reminds me of a mocha frappuccino from McDonald's, because I used to drink coffee. It smells like that, and it tastes like it. It don't taste like turtles or none of that. And on the back, what it has in it is caramel popcorn and caramel popcorn flavored Chex cereals and cocoa flavored Chex cereal, chocolate covered peanuts, regular peanuts. Hold on, no, chocolate covered peanuts. Oh no, it's just chocolate candy, regular chocolate candy, peanuts, and pretzels. The square ones and the circle ones. It tastes pretty good, you know. Excuse me. If you like something that it tastes about almost like a coffee, but also caramel and chocolate, then these will go up down the road that you're looking to walk on. They are right. To be honest, I'll eat them as cereal. Alright. I'm going to start off with a story that I'm working on. And this story is called Jimmie's Picture. And on this story called Jimmie's Picture, it starts off with my main character. His name is Jimmie Churchill. He's like 11 years old. And he's sitting in the office, across from his therapist. And his therapist wanted him to, draw a picture of how his home life is like where he lived it at. He lived it with his mother, and he also had a little sister. And his mother was in a relationship with a guy. And I gotta look back, but he picked it out some particular colors in this container that was full of crayons that she had. He picked it out the color yellow. For the picture, he picked it out the color yellow, black, and baby blue. And the yellow represented his mother, Sadie. That's her name. And the baby blue represented his baby sister, Sierra. And the black represented Sadie's boyfriend, Jesse. And Jimmie, he absolutely hated Jesse. He didn't understand what his mother saw in him. And the reason why Jimmie hated Jesse's guts is because Jesse always punishes his sister. And he just looks at Jesse as a hateful person. Jesse is like a short-tempered type of guy. Easily get mad quickly. And his little sister, Sierra, she has a bladder problem. And every morning she would wet herself. And every time she wet herself, Jesse would punish her. And Jimmie hated it that. And he had a discussion with his best friend. His best friend named Ferguson Kenny. He had a conversation. Ferguson was this short, kind of chunky boy. He go through bullying at school. Well, people bully him at school because of his weight for one, and he also have like a body odor problem. But he is Jimmie's best friend. Jimmie hangs out with him. Jimmie likes to go over his house. The two of them like to play the game together. and and Jimmie was telling Ferguson one day when they were playing the game that he hates Jesse, and he just hopes that something bad happens to Jesse. Like he hope he dies or something like that. And Ferguson was listening to him and like, wow, he must be a terrible person and all of that. And Jimmie just was wishing bad things to happen to his mother's boyfriend. And Ferguson ended up coming out and telling Jimmie that he had found his gun in the junkyard. And it was a gun. It was a pew pew. And it had a tape wrapped around it. And God knows who had put it there. But Ferguson found it. And in his mind, he wants to. He think of himself as an outlaw off of the Western movies, the cowboy movies, and he loved them type of movies, by the way. And he told Jimmie about it. And Jimmie was saying like he wished he had one. The reason why Jimmie wishes he had one because of Jesse. He wishes to use one on Jesse. And Ferguson said, well, I have one, but I can't show it to you now. Maybe some other time. But Ferguson was going along with what Jimmie was saying about Jesse. But as for there was one person that did not go along with what Jimmie said, and it was Jimmie's grandfather. His name was Cuthbert. Cuthbert, Cuthbert. He is Jimmie's grandfather and also one of Jimmie's favorite people in the family. Out of everybody in the family, Jimmie loved it, and I mean loved it, his grandfather. He was really close to his grandfather. He'll never forget when his grandfather took him fishing, taught him how to fish and everything. He loved his grandfather. He also picked out other colors because those three specific colors were for his mother, his sister, and his mother's boyfriend. But he also picked out extra colors for everybody in his family. And Jimmie had quite many uncles and aunts, and that was Sadie's brothers and sisters. But Sadie was one of the children out of all of her brothers and sisters who the mother treated differently. The mother, her name is Mama Dina, Dita. She is Sadie and the rest of Sadie's siblings' mother. And she was not that close to Sadie. She treated Sadie differently from her other siblings. Like, she wasn't close to her. Reason why is because Sadie was, different. She had found out like she had like on an autism spectrum at a young age, and like her mother just didn't understand that. And her mother basically, abandoned her. But the only one who took up time with Sadie is Sadie's grandmother, Dita's mother. Her name is Mama Jubilee. But she ended up passing away around in the late 80s when Sadie was a little bit younger. So yeah, Sadie wasn't close with her own mother. And that right there, it kind of, grew up in Sadie. Sadie will never forget how her mother treated her and everything, but she still loved her mother. And Sadie, just like Sadie's mother was not that close to her, Sadie is not that close to Jimmie. She loves Jimmie though. She don't hate Jimmie, like her mother had treated her, but she's more closer to Sierra. than she is to Jimmie, of course. And like she babies Sierra up, but she's not like that with Jimmie. And one day, while after Jesse had punished Sierra again, after Jesse had punished Sierra again, he ended up taking notice that Jimmie was giving him, a mean stare, just staring at him up. Well, after he had seen him punish his sister, he was like, "Got something to say?" or something like that. And Jimmie just shook his head, and he told him like, "You better not say nothing or get the same thing like his sister." One day, Jimmie, he got tired of seeing his sister go through that, and also Jesse was not so nice to Sadie as well. And one day, when Jesse was arguing with Sadie, because Sadie ended up speaking out to Jesse about punishing Sierra. She spoke out the first time. Her and Jesse were going back and forth, face to face, and Jimmie had intervened, and Jimmie had his friend's pew pew in his hand, and Sadie had to do some talking. She had to really talk to her son, talk him down, so he won't, do what to Jesse. And Jimmie did not want to put the pew pew down. He kept aiming it at Jesse. And Jesse was like, no, don't stop him. He wants to be a man. He think he can hold a gun, hold a pew pew. Go ahead and let him hold a pew pew. Show him who the real man is. On this day, Jesse wanted him to do it, basically calling his bluff, and Jimmie wanted it to do it too, but his mother stopped him. She got the pew pew out of his hand, tossed it away somewhere. And Jimmie just broke down in tears. But he thought it was over after he had pulled that move on Jesse. He thought it was over. It was far from over. Because on that same day, once it turned like midnight, Jesse had snuck into the children's room while Jimmie was still laying in the bed asleep. Had his good old fashioned belt in his hand. He went to swinging on that poor kid with the belt while Jimmie was laying in bed. Viewer's discretion is advised. Unmercifully just on Jimmie while Jimmie was laying in the bed. That of course woke that Jimmie up. He was trying to grab for the covers and pull him over himself, but Jesse just kept whipping. And so Jesse had on his mind like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get you for that. And then he ended up getting Jimmie for that. And the punishments just kept happening. So now you know that Jesse is a horrible person. But one day, it was on Sierra's birthday. Sierra's birthday had came up, and she was turning about 5 or 6 years old, and miraculously, she did not wet herself on this day, and Sadie was happy, and she was thanking the Lord. Also forgot to mention, Sadie is a God-fearing woman. She believes in the Lord. She reads the Bible. She prays, etc. So yeah, she was thanking the hands of the Lord that her baby girl did not wet herself. And Jesse was also happy. And he was telling Sadie, like, we got to do something for her. Her birthday is the day. What should we do? Sadie, she don't really talk much. She also has like a stutter. One of her siblings also has a stutter, and he's a preacher. But well, he's like a pastor. I don't know the difference. And she has like a stutter. That plays a part on why she don't talk much. And she just also like extremely shy, timid, meek type of woman who was God fearing. But she was telling like she just like strut her shoulders like that at Jesse. And Jesse like, we're gonna have a party for her. And that's what he did. He had set it up a birthday party for little Sierra. And Sierra had her little school friends over and everything. The children was having fun. And of course Ferguson came over. Jimmie's friend. But Jesse had ended up making Jimmie's friend leave. And the reason why is because of Ferguson's body odor. It was after Ferguson had used the bathroom. It was after Ferguson had used the bathroom. It's like he left like a heavy, pungent smell sitting in there. And one of Jesse's friends ended up going in there. And they complained about the smell to Jesse. Jesse was sitting with his other friends at the table. They ended up getting a new kitchen table in the kitchen. Jesse ended up getting a new kitchen table. His friend, he had a friend named Tyrone. And Tyrone ended up getting a table for him from a yard sale. Because it was this kitchen table, the previous kitchen table that Sadie had in her kitchen, it was dry rotten because the ceiling was leaking really bad. So it was dry rotten day by day, and the whole house was almost dilapidated, like almost falling apart. But by the miracle from God, it was staying together. The whole house was already dilapidated. But this table was just messed up. The first table was. Second table, Jesse and Tyrone had brought it in the kitchen. They both had brought it in the kitchen so they could have somewhere to eat. So Jesse and Sadie and the children could have somewhere to eat, and also like around in the party they'll have somewhere to sit to play cards and talk and drink and etc. And back to Ferguson, Jesse made him left. He was like, boy, you got to leave. You got to get out of this house. Like he stink. Like you need to. He just told him the way it was. He said you need to wash his ASS. A to the double snakes. And that hurted Ferguson's feelings. And he never went to Jimmie about it, what Jesse had told him. But he left early. And Jimmie didn't understand why he had to leave early, but he had left early. And I don't know if anyone else experienced it, but after every kid's party, it turns into a grown folks party. And Jesse and them had turned it Sierra's little kitty party after like near the end of the day when it turned to nighttime. They turned her little kitty party into a grown folks party. It turned into a grown folks party, with the drinking and card playing, music playing, all of that stuff like that. Sadie was just not a part of it. But it was also another woman there who Jesse had went to school with. But Jesse didn't end up finishing school. But he had went to school with this girl, like around grade school, like middle school wise. He knew this girl. And I don't have a particular name for her, but this girl like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in a long time, Jesse. She was hugging on him. And when a particular song had came on the radio, she wanted Jesse to dance with her. And Jesse got up, danced it with her. And she was just dancing all on him, like that was her boyfriend. And Sadie saw it, but she wasn't bothered by it because she just don't say much. She just went to the back somewhere. She went to the back in the bedroom where she sleep at. her bedroom, and she just opened up her Bible and read it, cause that's what Sadie usually do. She's a very quiet, meek woman who just opens up her Bible and reads it. She loves her Bible, and she loves the Lord. She was just sitting there reading her Bible. And after, the whole dance and song were playing and everything, after that had passed by after a while, and Tyrone, while they were sitting at the table still playing cards and stuff, Tyrone had ended up asking Jesse, like, hey man, how come Sadie is, not like the other women at this party? Like, how come she ain't, out there, like the party, like the drink and stuff like that? And Jesse was just saying like little mocking, teasing stuff like, oh, she's a Christian woman. She likes to pray and stuff like that, pray to her God. And Jesse, he's also an atheist. He don't believe in God at all. He don't have no belief in him at all. And I know there's people out there who's really like that. But yeah, he said like she just prays to her God. But for some reason, he loves Sadie, even though he don't have no belief in God. He don't respect her beliefs as well, but he loves her and likes to stay with her for some reason. He wants to stay in a relationship with her. And that had him thinking when Tyrone had asked him that. He ended up going to the back when Tyrone and them had decided to leave. They were going to go someplace else, to have fun. And but Jesse decided to stay there with Sadie. Just him and Sadie. And Jimmie had ended up calling his aunt, one of his aunts, his Aunt Ursula. He had a lot of aunts, but he liked to stay with his Aunt Ursula because he had cousins at her house that he played with, like boy cousins. And he called his Aunt Ursula to pick him up. And Ursula also wanted it, Sierra to come with her, but Sierra wanted to stay there with her mother. She wanted to stay there with her mother and Jesse, and that's what she ended up doing. She stayed there with her mother and Jesse and slept in her bedroom. Like, she just had a great time at her birthday party. She really loved it. She had a birthday cake and all of that. Jesse bought her something, and Sadie bought her something. So after she had fell asleep, Jesse ended up going into the room where Sadie was at, and just sat and had a conversation with her. Like, why you always, sit in here, read the Bible all the time, take a load off, take a break, put your Bible down, so the two of us can have some alone time. Basically trying to take, her focus off of, the Bible and stuff like that. And Sadie did, she quietly had put her Bible down like he told her, and he ended up giving her like one of the little red plastic party cups, and pouring some spirits inside of it. You know what spirits are? Yeah. Pouring that inside of it and giving her the cup, and the two of them just sat and talked. And Sadie had wanted it to ask Jesse. She kind of got a stutter with her. It's like, Jesse, why you don't believe in God? And Jesse had told her like what is God? Who is God? And Sadie like God is everything. God is all around us. God is love. God is the maker. And then Jesse had asked her, like, the maker of what? And Sadie said, the maker of everything. The maker of mankind. That's what, Sadie was telling Jesse. And Jesse was like, okay, if there is a God, if God is all around us, why is it so much bad things happen in the world? That's what Jesse was, saying. And it's kind of similar, have anybody ever seen the movie Boys in the Hood? The part with Doughboy, who was played by Ice Cube. Ice Cube is a rapper. If you don't know, you should know. But he was saying about similar stuff like what Jesse was saying. like, a lot of bad things happen in the world, and folks is saying that God is real and stuff like that. Which, off topic, God is real, because I have belief in God. But yeah, Jesse just didn't have no belief in God at all. He was like asking like, who is God and everything, and he was also like, okay, was God there when this and that had happened to me? Jesse had something horrible happen to him. He was just, drinking out of the bottle and was just asking Sadie, like, was God there when something horrible had happened to him? And what the horrible thing that had happened to him, it involves a person who was like friends with Tyrone. His friend Tyrone, someone who his friend Tyrone had knew. It was this much bigger guy, and he was this much older guy. Around that time, Jesse was probably about near Jimmie's age, probably like 11, 10, or even younger than that. And he had something horrible happen to him. It had to do with being extrally abused, raped. And this guy named Tyrone and them call him Slimberg. Like, he knows him like through his family and all. Him, along with a few, like 2 or 3 more other older boys, they did something horrible to Jesse. And Jesse never forgot. Jesse never told Tyrone. He kept it to himself till adulthood. And this ate Jimmie up. This ate Jesse up. He never told anyone about it. It really negatively affected him. And that's what makes him have anger towards God. Like, he just don't have any belief in him at all. Like was God there when this and that had happened, Like, he was asking Sadie that, Sadie was just staring at him. She couldn't answer the question. But all she said at the end, after Jesse had went on and told her what had happened, and he didn't cry or nothing. He was just, of course, tipsy, aka drunk. But he was just telling all about what had happened and how it made him felt. Like, he had so much anger in him. And Sadie just looked at him and said, God loves you, Jesse. That's all she said. And Jesse just looked at her, and he took another gulp, and then looked at her and like, oh yeah. And then he ended up putting the bottle down. He ended up turning something on the radio, like a soft song. Like, turning the station, on the radios where it had the different songs playing. And he switched it in, and it was this particular song that reminded him on the first date that he took Sadie on. And, he had grabbed her hand and told her to get up and, slow dance with him. And Sadie got up and did it. They had a beautiful romantic night. And he looked it down at her because Sadie was a little short. Jesse a little taller than her, but he ain't too tall himself. He just was a little taller to her. And he looked it down at her like, I love you, right? And Sadie she wasn't the type that would look, directly at people. I found out when it comes to people who have autism, some of them won't directly stare people in the eyes. It was something like that I seen on TikTok. But with Sadie, she just did not stare people straight in the eyes like that when talking to them. And she did that with Jesse, and that rubbed Jesse the wrong way. Like, you say you love me back, but you're not looking into my eyes. Couples are supposed to look at each other in the eyes. When they, I looked at you in your eyes and say that I love you. How come you can't do the same back with me? So, for the first time, Sadie looked it up at Jesse and said, I love you too, Jesse. And when she said that, Jesse just grabbed her, moved her more closer up to him, and then kissed and just had a beautiful night together. It was very romantic, just like on their first date. But, it just goes to show you something horrible had happened to Jesse. And Jesse also came out on that same night when he had told Sadie about everything that had happened to him. He also had came out and told Sadie, too, that he's jealous of Jimmie. And there can be grown-ups that be jealous of children. He said that he was jealous of Jimmie. He said Jimmie got it made. Jimmie got people in his family who care about him. Jesse said he didn't have people in his life that cared about him. He ain't had no one protecting him. So he's jealous of Jimmie. That, he ain't had a childhood like Jimmie. He had something horrible happen to him in his childhood. But him not having belief in his heart, sooner than later, all of that is going to change. Because Jesse started having these dreams. And there was these dreams about him getting baptized. It was this older man that would, call him to the water. This man dressed in white, like, come on, little child. And in these dreams, Jesse would be a little boy all over again. And the older man would call him over to the water, just like this lake or this river. And, he'll ask Jesse questions before dipping him back in the water. And, Jesse would be a little scared in the dream to get dipped back in the water, but he felt peace with this man, whoever this man was. The man had all white on, like white raiment in the Bible. And once he get dipped back into the water, it's like he stayed there for a while. You know how like you can see through water and the water just wiggling all over the place? Well, as he was still sitting back in the water, it's like something else had took the place of that man. And it's like something was trying to choke him. And it would like turn from a peaceful dream to a evil dream. And Jesse would wake up out of his sleep like as if he was choking, like, drowning. And his eyes would roll to the back of his head and everything, like it was like he was drowning or something. And gagging for air. And Sadie would have to, wake him up or, like tap his face like that. It would kind of scare her. But he'll like have them type of dreams like that. I'll look at it as spiritual warfare, what Jesse was going through. And he'll wake up out of it, explain to Sadie what he had dreamed about and everything. And he just had on his mind that he's going to stay away from getting baptized. He did not know what the dream meant. He was just, scared. But one day, Jimmie going to end up be walking with Ferguson one day. And, him and Ferguson was just having a normal talk like little boys. And one day, Jesse had ended up rolling up. Jimmie had been staying away from his mother's house for a while. Excuse me. He had started staying around his friend's house and haven't been telling his mother about it at all. And, but he told his aunt Ursula about it and his grandfather and all, and they did not care, Ursula understood why Jimmie wanted to stay away. She knew it had something to do with Jesse, because she herself did not like Jesse. Because one day, Jesse had ended up getting into an argument with Sadie again, and during this argument, he ended up grabbing a hold of her Bible and just started ripping the pages. Like, there you go get the Bible. Started ripping the pages out and throwing some of the pages out of the window, their bedroom window, and Sadie just was screaming out and fighting them back and everything. It was the first time she didn't stutter that time. She was like, "Give me back my Bible." And excuse me, my allergies. And Jesse was like, "Yo, you want your Bible? Well, come and get it then out of my hand." She couldn't get it away from him. He was just tearing the pages out. Sadie was screaming out no and crying and stuff like that. And when he did that, that tore Sadie up. It hurted her because she really loved it to read her Bible. And she cried about it. And she ended up telling her sister about it. And Ursula felt sorry for her. And Ursula ended up buying her a brand new Bible. But Sadie wasn't happy with his Bible because the first Bible, the reason why she was so hurt about the first Bible getting torn up, because she got that Bible from her grandmother. It was her grandmother's Bible. And before Mama Jubilee had passed away, she had gave little Sadie that Bible. And it hurted Sadie that her grandmother's Bible was torn up. But it didn't hurt Jesse. He laughed about it because he didn't have no belief in him at all. But Ursula, she came back. And she told Jesse to his face, like, this is the Bible that I gave to my sister that I bought with my money. If I find out that you tore it up, Me and you gonna have it out. It's gonna be a problem between us. That's basically what Ursula has said. And Jesse, was arguing back with her and was telling Sadie, like, you better get your sister for it be a problem right now. Ursula did not like Jesse. Also, the other aunts had got into it, except for one of the auntie. Jimmie also had other aunts and uncles, but it was mainly his aunts getting into the business between Sadie and Jesse. It was his aunt Ursula and his aunt Nanda. And Nanda, she was more like the auntie that didn't have children. She was probably her and the youngest aunt, Monet. Monet was still a teenager, like 17, 18 years of age. But Nanda was like near Sadie and Ursula's age. Ursula was like one of the oldest siblings. That's why she has to be responsible and stuff and take up with her other siblings. But Nanda, she's the sibling that doesn't have, she doesn't have any children. The auntie that doesn't have any children and all, but she takes up time with like her nieces and nephews and all. And the two of them had one time, had got into an argument with Jesse, and it almost had turned it into an altercation. But Sadie had ended it all by letting them know that, just don't worry about it. It's best for them not to get in her business and all. God would take care of things at the end of the day. And Sadie also had temporarily quit talking to Jesse when he had torn up her grandmother's Bible. It just hurted her. And Jesse took notice, like, oh, you just gonna give me silent treatment? She'll walk right past him as if she don't see him there. But one day when Jimmie was walking with his best friend Ferguson, Jesse had came rolling up on his truck, because Jesse had a truck. And he ain't the only one that had a pickup truck. The story was also Jimmie's grandfather. But he came up rolling up on his pickup truck, and he had told he had a red pickup truck, and he had told Jimmie to get in. And Jimmie didn't want to get in. Jimmie just stood there and not say nothing. So, you hear me, boy? I said, come and get in this truck. Your mama been looking for you. Ferguson had spoke up. Because Ferguson remembered the day when Jesse had embarrassed him and had told him that he needed to leave home because he smelled bad and stuff like that. Ferguson had spoke out and said, like, man, can you see that he don't want to go with you? Like, hey, man, can you see he don't want to go with you? He's walking with me. And what Jesse did that no adult should do when it comes down to children. He had went into his glove department, grabbed his own pew-pew. He had a pew-pew of his own. Grabbed it out of the glove department and basically showed it to Jesse. Hung his hand out the window and showed it to Jesse. Like, I beg your pardon? When he said that, it scared Ferguson up. He didn't say a word back. He just stayed quiet. He was shook, like, with his eyes wide open, like, whoa. And, of course, Jimmie got a little worried, too, and he went on right in the truck with Jesse. And Jesse drove off. He ended up driving in a secluded area to, like, have this talk with Jimmie. But right before he started talking to Jimmie, just for Jimmie standing right there with Ferguson and not getting in the car the first time, he had hauled off and, smacked Jimmie in the face. Jimmie held his face, and, tears had started running. Like, why you hate me so much? And Jesse looked at him and, like, hate you. And, like, yeah, you hate me and my sister. You hate us. Like, why you hate us so much? And then, Jesse had started laughing. And he ended up telling Jimmie, like, I don't hate you. You think that I hate you? If I hated you, you would have known if I hated you. I've been basically taking care of your sister. Your father is the one who hates you. And Jimmie, like, what you talking about? My father's dead, and stuff like that. And Jesse was like, and Jesse had started laughing after Jimmie had said it, dead. That must be some stuff that Sadie told you. Sadie must didn't tell you the truth. Your father's not dead. He's somewhere living in Kansas City. So Sadie, she's been praying to the Lord and everything, reading the Bible, but have told her son a lie. She did not tell him the truth about his father. His father was living in Kansas City, had a whole nother family and everything after Sierra was born. basically abandoning him and Sierra. Jimmie was a little bit younger. Jimmie didn't know about this. Jesse had came out and told him, like, your mama lied to you. You know, your dad is living in Kansas City. And when he heard that, that's when Jimmie became angry with his mother. Like, you lied to me. Like, you lied and said that my father was dead and stuff. Why would you say that to me? I thought we weren't supposed to tell lies. I thought it was one of God's commandments. Jimmie was telling his mother that and everything. He was angry with his mother. And Sadie was torn apart by this. It hurted her that her son, was angry with her. Didn't want to talk to her no more. And, Jesse had ended up telling Sadie, like, when you doing all the praying and stuff, but you didn't tell that child the truth. You judging me about me not, having any belief, but you didn't tell your son the truth about his daddy. That's wrong and stuff like that. And Sadie hated it that, and she ended up apologizing to Jesse about to Jimmie about the whole thing about not telling him the truth about his father. His father walked out of him and his sister's life. And, that's when, not too long after that happened, Sadie ended up talking to Jesse. So he ended up finding out that Jesse had some care in his heart towards him and his sister. He always thought Jesse hated him and his sister's guts, but really, Jesse cared about him. He just had, just was really tough, tough around the edges. I don't know what you call it. Rough around the edges, yeah. The rough around the edges type of person, because he had it hard when he was a child. And he's trying to be rough around the edges with the children. But he still had care in his heart towards him. But Sadie felt like a bad person when she got called out for telling a lie. But it all had ended up straightening out at the end. And one day, my allergies. But one day, trying to think of this. One day, Jesse, it just bothered Jesse so much about what had happened to him when he was a kid. He ended up coming out and telling Tyrone about it. On that day, before that had happened, Tyrone's cousin, well, the person that Tyrone knew, Slimber, he ended up getting Tyrone to go to the store for him, like run somewhere to get him something from the store. He ended up giving Tyrone some money to get himself something from the store, and Tyrone had went and left. He had no idea that his cousin was trying to push him away from the house so he could do whatever he wanted it to do to little Jesse. But Jesse felt like his friend Tyrone wasn't there by his side and didn't help him out. Tyrone had no clue this happened to Jesse because Jesse just never came out and told him. And once Jesse told him, one night when Tyrone had came over to Sadie's house, he spoke to Sadie and was like, hey man, you want to ride with me somewhere? Like, hang out, smoke, do whatever. And Jesse was like, nah man, I'm going to spend time with my family. And it was around when Jesse had started to, Sadie had ended up praying for Jesse. Ended up letting, for the first time, Jesse had ended up getting on his knees right beside Sadie. Because Sadie had wanted to pray for him so he could stop having them bad dreams. And he ended up getting on his knees right beside her. And the two of them, had prayed when they had got on their knees. That was the first time Jesse ever prayed. When he prayed, he had a very peaceful feeling over him. And after that prayer, he didn't have bad dreams no more. It all faded away and went away. And on that night when Tyrone had wanted him to leave with him, Jesse was like, nah, I'm going to stay here with my family. And, Tyrone had started laughing. Tyrone was also a little drunk. And they were like, your family? The last time I checked, you said, them children ain't even your kids and stuff like that. Their dad lives someplace else. I told you about, talking to a woman that, already has 2 kids and stuff like that. Him and Tyrone started going back and forth about it. And, Jesse, like, they is my family. And them kids is my kids. I've been taking care of them. I've been giving them, put clothes on their I've been putting clothes on their back, food in their belly, etc. They are my kids. And Jesse ended up coming out saying like, never mind about my family. This is about you not being a real friend. You haven't been by my side. When this and that had happened to me. And once he had came out, and Tyrone like, well, hey man, they ain't had nothing to do with that and stuff like that. And so happened Slim Bird had told Tyrone that he was gonna go into the room where Jesse was at, but he didn't tell what he was gonna do. And Jesse just felt like his friend had betrayed him, like he knew all about it all along, when really Tyrone didn't really know about it. So him and Tyrone had started arguing, and then it had turned into an altercation, a fight. And two of them were just rolling around on the ground, fighting and stuff like that. Tyrone, of course, had, I'll say had got the best of Jesse, because Tyrone is a little bit bigger than Jesse. Just like Ferguson is a little bit bigger than Jimmie, Tyrone is a little bit bigger than Jesse. Jesse was just this, kind of tall, kind of short, skinny guy, a little bit muscular, but, he just had a lot of anger built up in him. He fought back Tyrone, but Tyrone, of course, was making, Jesse bloody and stuff like that. The viewer's description is advised. His mouth was bloody and everything. And Jesse went to go get his pew-pew that he had put up in his truck. The guy got a hold of it and pointed it at Tyrone. And Tyrone was calling his bluff. Like, man, you ain't gonna shoot me. Like, you ain't gonna shoot me and stuff like that. And Jesse, once Tyrone had turned his back, Jesse ended up shooting Tyrone, but it had went through his shoulder because he just had so much anger in him. And when he had did that, it really woken up Jesse. Like, the anger had went away, and he was shot himself. And then he ended up dropping the gun. Sadie and the children was out there. Sadie had rushed the children back in the house. She screamed it out. There were blood. And Tyrone had ended up going to the hospital to get the bullet removed. Did he tell it on his friend? Did he say that his friend did it? No, he didn't tell on Jesse. He knew Jesse was angry. He never told it on Jesse, even though he should have. But he never told it on Jesse. He didn't say who had shot him. He just, went to the hospital and got it treated, and he was just fine. Came out just fine, thank the hands of the Lord. But Jesse, after he did that, it just really woke him up. It opened up his eyes. He realized what he had done. And on that same night, he broke down and he cried like a little boy again. He broke down and cried. He was saying he didn't mean to shoot Tyrone. He just had a lot of anger in him. And then he ended up asking over and over to himself, basically trying to talk to God, saying like why it happened to him. Why that happened to him. Why it happened, when he was a child. And Sadie comforted him. They comforted him and had a beautiful, passionate night. The children also, got started. Jimmie also, when Jimmie first had seen Jesse just in tears, this is the first time he seen Jesse cry. Jesse didn't want to cry in front of the children, but Jimmie had, ended up peeping through the bedroom window and seen Jesse just balled up, like on the floor, just with his head down, and just hear him just bawling and crying. And Sadie was right there rubbing him and, comforting him. But the very next day, Jesse had sat on the porch. He had sat on the porch. He didn't want no breakfast or nothing, because Sadie had made breakfast like she usually do. He just sat on the porch and just was drinking a regular, brewski, a beer. And Jimmie had came outside and asked him. He's like, "Can I sit beside you?" And Jesse was like, "I don't care. Like it's a free country. You can sit right beside me." He sat right beside Jesse, and the two of them had started getting close again. And the hate that Jimmie had towards Jesse, it turned to sympathizing. He was sympathizing with Jesse and realized that Jesse just had gone through a lot himself through his childhood. He did not have no more hate towards Jesse. And also, not too long after that, Jesse had ended up becoming a believer in God. He ended up going to church for the very first time with Sadie and the rest of her family. Ursula was still a little skeptical towards him, like, oh, he just putting up a front. No, he ain't really gonna turn into a believer. But he did. It was a day where the folks could get baptized. I think after the church. I don't know really how it works, but Jesse ended up getting baptized. And I guess his dreams that he had about getting baptized, it came true. It's just the part with him getting choking and stuff. He really deep down inside was afraid. And he knew that Satan, was just trying to destroy him, destroy his spirit and everything, but he couldn't do it because God was protecting him. And after he got baptized, he also had a tattoo. He had a tattoo on his neck, and it was a pentagram tattoo, a very demonic tattoo that he had on the side of his neck. It was a woman one day who had touched it. He came up to Jesse's truck when Jesse was sitting in the car sitting in his truck on his break, his break for work. She had came up and asked him, do he believe that Jesus Christ had, died on the cross and rose up the third day? Jesse said, yeah. Became a believer, got baptized. Said, that's a beautiful thing. And she was telling him, that he's blessed and everything like that. And then she ended up taking a notice of the tattoo on the side of his neck. She was like, can I touch your tattoo? Can I put my hand over your neck? And Jesse just staring at her in a strange way, yeah, you can, I guess. She reached it over, touched his tattoo, just lay her hands there, closed her eyes and prayed to the Most High God. And when she removed her hand away, that tattoo was gone. That demonic tattoo had disappeared off of Jesse's flesh. And he felt like a cooling feeling after she had touched it. He knew that this woman was not a regular woman. It was an angel in disguise. When it touched his neck, the tattoo was gone. No more demonic tattoos on him at all. And that's basically the end. And then it ended with Jimmie, still visiting the therapist and everything. He just having great days, saying about the great times he having with his mother and Jesse and his sister and everything. And also the relationship between Sadie and her mother. It ended up, becoming better again. Dita apologized. She also was a believer in God, but she has some wrong ways about her too. She had the same amount of anger she had in her, just like Jesse had a lot of anger in him. She have gone through a lot in her life as well. And it plays a part in why she, was that way with Sadie. She didn't understand about Sadie and everything. But she ended up growing close with her daughter. She ended up growing close with her daughter again, and they had a beautiful bond and everything. She ended up getting the understanding of Sadie and everything. And that's basically the end of the story called Jimmie's Picture. It's basically the end of Jimmie's Picture, and if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. And to all of the subscribers, thanks for the support. And for people who are new to my channel, I see you. And welcome to Willa Candy's channel. My name ain't actually Willa Candy, it's just my channel's name. I'm Patrika. On this channel, I eat. I can mostly home cooked food, but I also can eat fast food as well. And I also try out snacks and stuff. If God's will, I have more videos coming up, and I'll tell stories of my own, just like the story a while ago called Jimmie's Picture that I came up with. Currently working on, to be honest. And I hope you like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I also hope that you guys stay safe out there. Love one another, treat everyone with respect, eat something great, a snack, lunch, or whatever you want to eat. Please have a great day at work. Please drive safely. Do not drink or drive. please simply be safe, because at the end of the day, we all have to be safe. Thank you to all, and God bless. Goodbye.